Hey everyone, and welcome to Unsupervised Consequences, day number 47. This is a chronicle of how I went from over 450 pounds to 270 pounds and counting downwards. This is the final episode of this series, and today we are talking about opinions. The quote that I picked up for today is from Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, and it says, "The universe is transformation, life is opinion." I personally love that quote, and I'll tell you why. It's because there are so few things that we believe unconditionally. Um, a lot of times we make the assumption that that's just how it is. And the truth is that we have an entire existence that's structured by the opinions of others. I actively think this is uh, horrible, and I'm constantly trying to break out of it. If we always listen to other people's opinions, we would never get anywhere. Um, I know that we've all heard the statement like opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and they're usually full of poop. That is uh, factual. You know, a lot of the times and not even for other people's, for our own opinions. A lot of the times we have our own opinions of things, and they are absolutely ridiculous. That being said, um, it's a weird concept to understand that we have to have our principles that are structured in knowledge and experience, and even the experiences of others, and knowledge that's been passed to us even from through history, through family, through our ancestors, all these things. um, and life is constantly changing, but we struggle, or we cling on to so many beliefs or ideas that matter to us and guide us through so much. And it is one of those things that has been key to, I know, this journey that I've been on, has been abandoning a lot of those opinions. And it's not something that I take lightly, but the beginning of this, I explained that you have to do something you've never done before to get to where you've never been. And the same sense is the idea or trust that we have in others, in uh, our own knowledge is treacherous. And abandoning those stands and being not, and when I say abandon, I don't mean disregard, but I mean that we don't have to dig our heels in every time someone questions our understandings or our perspectives. There's nothing wrong. And like, that's the first step into opening ourselves up to knowledge. The idea that we can approach things from the standpoint of a child, where they are in awe of everything that happens because it's the first time they're experiencing it. It creates a situation or a perspective that we don't always appreciate, especially as adults. And I find that it's kind of cyclical in that we start that way, and then later on in life, I think the happiest of seniors regain that appreciation for new adventures. Because the fact is, you can't approach life with the idea that I know everything, and life is going to be exactly the same day in and day out. And one thing that we covered earlier on was the idea that there is a constant level of change that either we can adapt to and help ourselves master that idea of walking through raindrops because we flow with the change and adapt to it as we're moving, or we try and stand like a brick wall and just things hit us constantly and we get nowhere. If we take the time to understand or perceive things with the idea or perception that it's the first time that we're coming upon it, it gives us a little bit more freedom, not only to be wrong, but to discover more. And I think that that has been one of the biggest experiences or uh, successes through this process, was the idea that I could do something differently, even though in my mind, well, I know exactly what's going to happen. I think that a lot of the times, people in general will take the time or the stance that, well, I could do that, but I just don't have the circumstances, or I could do that, I just don't have the time. I could do that, I just don't have the energy, or, and we immediately excuse our way into not doing what we know full well is beneficial. For myself, when I was at my largest, um, it was my health that was failing me first, but I had already failed myself. And perceiving myself as a failure is detrimental to your existence. So I knew that I wasn't a failure, but I knew that I had failed in this situation. So I can approach it like I've approached it before, which, to be honest, didn't work. Or I could try and approach things with an open mind, without being jaded by my own opinions, perspectives, thoughts, logic, reason, and say, let me just try and learn something. Let me just see if it's possible. And I always was of the opinion that, people say that, well, things are either black or they're white, right? They're right or they're wrong. And as you mature, you realize that there's a thin sliver of white and a thin sliver of black, and then a huge amount of gray area right in the middle. And the more rigid you get in your opinions and principles and perspectives, you find that that gray area starts to lessen, 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 and then you have two options: it's either right, and if it's not right, it's got to be wrong. And I don't say that that's a bad way of looking at things. I believe and have come to really uh, take a hold of the idea that if I want to grow, then I have to appreciate that that gray area isn't necessarily for myself, but it's for who I can become. If I take the time to, instead of disregard things that maybe I would think are foolish or unreasonable, illogical, or just foolhardy, then I can approach a task or an adventure with not just renewed zeal, but the comfort that I may discover something new. So often, and a lot of times people will misquote the idea of what science is. Science is the analysis of a thing until we know definitively that it happens exactly that way. And the fact is that we know now that even just observing something can change the outcome. So everything that we think we know may only be circumstantial. And that's why approaching things with that idea of openness and a perspective of new experience means that we can discover something and aid in our growth. Because I'll tell you, even in talking with other people, the idea that I would go on one meal a day, even that was like, you can't do that. Why not? Says who? And in the last 2 weeks, I've talked with 3 or 4 people that I've explained to them what I'm doing, and they said, I thought about that, so I tried it and just said, you know what, I'm gonna not have breakfast. I'm gonna have breakfast at around noon, just shorten that window of what I'm eating. And then, you know what, because I was thinking about it, like, I had dinner and it was a little bit late, But then I realized that that's when I started to just snack on stuff for no reason, just because it was there. I just wanted something to do. I'm like, and you trick yourself. He goes, I was tricking myself. And that approach revealed or opened up the idea that they never thought to consider. And that gives everyone hope, because if we do the same thing over and over again, we are not going to get a different result. We get the same result. But so often, because of our rigidity of our opinion, of our mind, of our perspective, we won't allow ourselves to move to that next step. So, as I said in the post, this is the final episode for this series. I am going away for a couple days, and I'll be returning, and we'll start with a new series, and maybe I will have discovered something else. So stay tuned. There will be more to come. I will be posting still daily. I will probably go live in the next couple of days, or even not, if not tomorrow and the next day. But those will be just one-offs, as I will be traveling. So it should be exciting. But in the meantime, this has been Unsupervised Consequences, day number 47. It is taking everything in me to not round that up to an even number, but that's okay. That's fine. It's just a new experience, and that's where we're going to leave it. So if you've enjoyed this, please feel free to like this video, share it with any friends, and even subscribe to my channels, as I will be posting more content of my weight loss journey and where it takes me. So in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be back very soon.